If you'd like to see more of our videos, hit the subscribe button to stay on top of the market news. Good morning, traders. Welcome to today's market review. This is Fred Razak at CMtrading. Today's July 29, 2020, and today is Wednesday morning. So looking at the highlights of the day, the big tech is on trial. Google, Apple, Facebook, all starting antitrust hearings today at 4 o'clock South African time. And also later today, we have FOMC rate decision happening at 9 p.m. South African time, so a major number coming out. Now, looking at the economic events of the day, we have a few events coming out later today, but none as important as the two I just mentioned. But looking at the markets, the British pound catches up, finally rallying to that 129, and South African rand still on support. Reluctant to break that support, but I'm more inclined to think it's stronger today to actually break. And looking at the indices, the Dow Jones continues to trickle down. The Nasdaq still relatively strong. While we're looking at the commodities, gold bouncing after retracement, after hitting almost $2,000 per ounce. And oil is trading at the bottom of a short-term range. Lastly, looking at the stocks, it's the FANG stock plus Microsoft that all retrace in this pre-antitrust hearings happening today. So you do want to know what's happening. But let's take a look at the markets and see what we can expect from today's trading. So we're looking here at the Eur Usd, but starting out with today, you could expect a lot of volatility. Maybe not in the former part of the day, but definitely in the latter part of the day after the FOMC comes out with the rate decision. It's not just the rate decision that we're all looking into. It's also the comments and some of the expectations either being met or not being met, because the markets are not in any kind of historic relevancy. And the reason I say that is because in this pandemic, a lot of things have turned upside down. There's a stimulus package happening. Going into right before the pandemic, the markets were kind of slowing down. So we're in a very interesting transitional point. Now, looking at the Eur USD, we retrace from this 17,621, and that's normal, okay? Because if we look at a longer time frame, we'll see that that is actually a decent place to retrace. That was our previous resistance-ish level. So retracing at these levels is quite normal. The next real support level is 115-ish level. So we have some ways to go on the downside. So keep in mind, okay, if this does break this 117.60-ish level, then we could go back to where we were trading about 3 years ago in the 120s area, okay, which would be a crazy move to happen in such a short period of time. But you do want to keep this on the radar because the Eur USD is going to be a very important symbol to trade today, okay? It maintains that USD value, okay? So it's a counter currency to the euro. And so that's very important, especially with the news coming out on the USD. Now, looking at the GBP USD finally playing catch up and rallying up to this 129-ish level, breaking out from this 2-month slump. Now, looking at a weekly chart, just to give us perspective here, we still have some moves on the upside to still make, okay, and to maintain. If we look at a daily chart, that's a little bit easier. This 133 is really the upper limit to it, so we could still possibly continue trading there. Now, we're hitting a minor resistance-ish level right here. Let's just highlight that. Right there, okay, where we do have a minor, let's just make it a little bit lower. That'll be a little bit more true to it. About 130, okay, we're about 80 pips away from that. So just be aware that there is a resistance-ish area there as well. So again, if we do break out on the upside, that's my area to really look for the breakout. Now, looking at the rand, okay, this thing has been really reluctant to break on the bottom side. And this is, I think, the second time we're really officially challenging it, okay, on this 1644-ish level and not breaking down, okay, but we're getting into a wedge formation, which is inclined to either have a breakout on the downside or the upside, okay, but you want to keep this in front of your radar because that is still happening, okay. Looking at the commodities, looking at gold, retracing yesterday down to 1900 from 1980-ish level. That's a decent retracement, then finally bouncing to 1955. So we're really right smack in the middle between these two elements, between the 1980 and 1900. So it's an important area for us to trade in, okay? So today's going to be a real telltale sign, especially after the FOMC rate decision, okay? Now, gold is usually a haven for an investments as when the markets are not doing well, and if there's any inflationary issues. I think what the Fed is going to want to do is address this deflationary and inflationary issues, potential issues that could happen with all the stimulus packages happening, with the lack of business activity and everything that's transpired. Now, jumping into oil, not much doing here, just relatively trading in a tight range at 40.91, bouncing off that lower limit. Okay, so we are developing a new range, which is normal. $40 is the bottom range. Okay, 41-ish dollar, 41.5-ish dollar is the top of the range. So we're in a tight range when it comes to oil. Not much doing here. Now, looking at the Dow Jones, did get weaker over the last couple of days and selling off after bouncing that 26,528-ish level down to 26,248-ish level right now. And this is very, very reminiscent of sitting on support here, okay, as it's forming this new downwards trend, okay. But if it does break this 26,300-ish level, we could see it making a correction on the upside. Now, if we look at the Nasdaq, relatively strong, okay. It is trading at the bottom of the range, but hasn't broken it. When we look at the stocks, though, it's a different story, okay. If we look at Microsoft first, that broke that support level at 203, and we're just trading above this 200-ish level. And as we gap down, we actually rallied higher. So we filled in the gap, but we're right there, okay. So this is really a pivotal moment for Microsoft. When we look at Amazon, it did retrace below 3,000 level. That's an important area. Apple trading at 372-ish level, also gapping up but not really gapping and going. It's really failing here. Now, when we look at Intel, remember Intel came out with earnings last week. It's a gap and go. Okay, so there is weakness in the markets right now. Okay, and if it does continue to sell off, we could see it certainly sell off down to $44 a share. So the markets are rotating. Okay, and they are making corrections. So this may be a very vital point for the Fed to come in and kind of stimulate the market a little bit with some enthusiasm to maybe a bounce as the markets actually, are making this rotation. This is Fred Razak. I want to wish you guys a great trading day. Thank you.